start Torah Yud Beis, Chelik Beis. Nosson says it has a shaykhis with the Torah that we learned till now, Torah Reish Pei Beis. The whole story, this was the Reish Pei Beis was the last Torah that Rebbe said before he left Lemberg. And actually, that's what closed the first chelik of the MOHARAN, chelik Aleph. Then Nosson says that the Torah Yud Beis has a shaykhis, the whole halachas. Allah says Makash Yud Beis, Reish Pei Beis. But when you learn Torah Yud Beis, you have to learn it as a Torah b'fnei atzma. It's a Torah for zich. First, to try and understand the Torah itself, and then after you understand good Torah Yud Beis, so Avad you can try to do Mikasha Yud Beis, Reish Pei Beis. But it's not going to be right if right away when you start learning Torah Yud Beis, everything that you see, you have to say, oh, that's Reish Pei Beis, because every Torah Fazich, like in the whole Sefer LIKUTEY, every Torah Fazich has its own unique understandings that there is in the Torah, which if you don't try to understand it, you won't even understand later Taka the Pnimis and the Shaykhis between Yud Beis and Reish Pei Beis, because you didn't understand Yud Beis, how much you would be able to understand it when you learn it as a Torah b'fnei atzma. So we'll start Torah Yud Beis. I myself learned the Torah 2 times. I went through the Torah, and it's always good. Someone that comes to say a shir in the LIKUTEY MOHARAN, it should be somebody that he himself is learning the Torah, and he himself is struggling to understand the Torah, what the Rebbe is saying. Because when someone comes to say a shir in the LIKUTEY MOHARAN for Olam that's trying to learn the Torah, and he's ready, he has everything in his head, so maybe he's saying whatever he's saying is right, but he's not able to teach and to show other people how to learn the Torah, because he comes with his mahalach, and he says what he says, and everyone is mekabel what he says, and the way to learn the LIKUTEY MOHARAN is that everyone has to be himself mechadish in the Torah. It's more important to be mechadish. Everyone himself should be mechadish what he's able to be mechadish, than to dafka listen to what somebody else has to say, because the Rebbe has his way, the way he speaks to everybody in a personal way. So it's chosh that everyone himself tries to understand and to ask the questions that come up, and tries to answer the questions. So it's very important to always to learn together, b'chabura. So we'll start the Torah. So the Rebbe says, "Kshodem ha'oilech achas sichloi v'chochmosoi yochal lipoil betuusim nechshoilis rabim v'lovoi deirois gdoilis chaz v'sholem." I want to maybe try to learn a shtickle from the Torah. First, go through the Torah one time, the first chelik of the Torah with Pashtus, and then go back and see what we don't really understand. We think we understand, but we don't understand. So again, "Kshodem ha'oilech achas sichloi v'chochmosoi yochal lipoil betuusim nechshoilis rabim v'lovoi deirois gdoilis chaz v'sholem." V'yesh shekilkulu harbe. It means that there are these people that they did go after the seichel and the chochma, and they fell into tuusim and mechshoilis rabim. And since that, l'chein v'yesh shekilkulu harbe kigon rishoyim agdoilim moed hamefursamim shehitu es ha'olam v'hakol hoya al yedei chochmosam v'sichlom. So the Rebbe's Mamshon says, "Vika yadus urak ledu betmimis ubepshitis."
Translate. Some people may not understand the language. Just translate.
Pashto English.
Pashto the touch.
So the Rebbe says like this: if someone, a adam that's hoilech achas sichloi v'chochmosoi, could fall into mistakes and to mechshoilis rabim. How do you say mechshoilis in English?
Somebody who follows his own intellect and cleverness is going to fall into mistakes and pitfalls. Pitfalls.
And through these pitfalls, you come to bad things. Rois gdoilis chaz v'sholem.
Evil. Become rois gdoilis could be evil also. No, it could become
bad ways, bad things. V'yesh shekilkulu harbe. There's a lot of people that were makalka. A lot of bad things, damage came out of this way of going after the seichel and the chochma. Kigoyin, the Rebbe says, "Rishoyim agdoilim mo'idam mefursamim big Rishonim that were very mefursim dik Rishonim, that they shehitu sa'olam, they tzimish the whole world with their deis, with their chokhmah. They took the whole world to bad places. Everything came out through that they went after the chokhmah and the seichel. V'ika yadis, and the Ika Yiddishkeit is rak leilech b'tmimus u'b'pshitas, to go with the Eibishter and tmimis, with the way of tmimis and the way of pshitas, b'li shum chokhmas, without any chokhmas. That's the Ika Yadis. It's a strong statement to say it, because Lamaisi, it's hard to find such a statement, I think, in another sefer, or even in the Sifri Chassidus, you won't find such a statement that says Ikra Yadus rak leiler betmimis ubshitis b'li shum chokhmas. Because not always chokhmah looks like a bad thing. Chokhmah is a person has to din the Eibishter with his seichel, with his chokhmah. So, such a thing to say that the Ikra Yadus is going with tmimis ubshitis without chokhmas. It's something that's very special for Rab Nachman. I think he's the only one that says it in such an expression. So the Rebbe's Mamshach says, the Ikar Yadis to go with Tmimis Pshitis, B'lishum Chochmas, V'listakel b'chol dover sho'iseh, she'yeh shom Hashem Yizboach, and the person shall look in all the things that he's doing, that to see that the Eibishter is there, Ulebli lashgiach klal kvoid atzman, and he shouldn't be looking bechlal and all the things that he's doing to be looking for his own personal kavod. Rakim yesh b'ze kvoid Hashem Yizborach yaseh v'im lav lav. If in the thing that he's doing there's kavod to Hashem Yizborach, that means from whatever he's doing, there's something that's coming out of kavod to the Eibishter, so he should do it. V'im lav lav. Va'az bevada, and if he goes in such a way, that means in such a way of tmimis, without chokhmas, and whatever he's doing is always searching and looking not for his personal kavod, only from the kavod from the Eibishter. Then for sure that he wouldn't fall and have a michshel in anything that he's going to be doing. The Rebbe says, that means, and even if he did fall into sveikus, because the Rebbe was speaking till now how to din the Eibishter in a way that you shouldn't bechlal come to sveikus. You should go between pshitis in such a way you don't fall into sveikus. But afilu, the Rebbe says, if you did go after your chokhmah, you did go after your seichel, and you fell into all kinds of mechsholis, and you fell into sveikus, v'yesh, the Rebbe says, shenifilosik doyle moed. There are even people that the nefila is a big nefila, Rachmana litzlan. Shenoifel is sveikois, he falls into doubts, v'yiruim, to all kinds of thoughts, u'mahar ach Hashem Yizborach, and he's even mahar after the Eibishter and the ways of the Eibishter. Even if a person has such a kind of nefila, he falls into such places. Afa pichein, the Rebbe says, this nefila and this yirida that he fell into is the tachlis of the aliyah. That means that he could come through this nefila that he fell into. It could be used. He could change it. That this nefila should become the tachlis aliyah. Let's go another shtickle little weit, and then we'll go back again and we'll see what we saw here. The Rebbe says kida. What has been kida? The reason why, even though a person falls into such a nefila, that he could turn over the nefila to be tachlis aliyah, is because kida ki shirish kol habriya, the shirish from the whole briya, who are covered, is the covered. Covered. I think it's important to explain it now. Covered is tackle what it sounds like. Covered. Everything a person does, people do things for the covered for themselves. And the Rebbe says here that a person shouldn't do things for his own cover, he should do it for the cover to the Eibishter. But cover doesn't mean only cover the way we understand it. Covered is, I say nochachut, presence. Yeah. The presence of the Eibishter all over, that's the covered from the Eibishter. If you do something because you feel his presence, or you're doing something because you want other people to acknowledge his presence, that's called the kavod from the Eibishter. Kavod doesn't only mean kavod, that means the Eibishter has, I'm doing something right now that everyone's going to understand how big the Eibishter is. Godel Hashem, v'yis neflois. Kavod doesn't only mean in such a way. Kavod is everything that's a person that he's mechubit, is he has a presence. He's recognized. Everything that in the Bria that you could recognize the Eibishter from that thing, that's called Kvod Hashem. So the Rebbe says that the shirish from the Bria is the Kavod. Why? Ki kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu u'lo el l'chvoide. It's a Chazal in Yuma. K'mo shekosov kol hanikro b'shmi u'l'chvoidi berosiv. The Rebbe brings the Chazal that it says that whatever the Eibishter created in this world, he didn't create it only for his kavod. He wanted that through the creation of the Bria, his kavod should come out in the world. And like Chazal bring the pasuk, Kol hanikro b'shmi l'chvoidi berosiv. Everything that I created, I created for my kavod. So the Rebbe says like this: since everything was created for his kavod, nimtza shekvoide yizbarach hu shoyrish kol habriya. So it comes out that the shoyrish from the whole bria is the kavod, because that's the reason. So it's a way to look at something. You could always say there's a reason why I created something, and then there's what I created. But it doesn't mean that if I had a reason for something and I did it, there's always a connection between the reason to the thing that came out of the reason. But in Ruchnius, it works different. If the Bria, the reason why the Eibishter created the Bria was for his kavod, Kim Techois comes out that the whole time, the shirish from the Bria till now, and every second is the whole time what's Machaya the Bria, what's the reason for the Bria, that's the shirish from the thing. And the reason for the Bria is the kavod from the Eibishter, so that's why it's the shirish. V'afal pi, the Rebbe says, Shekula Yechod, even though the truth is that the shirish is one, because the shirish is the kavod from the Eibishter, and the Eibishter is one. Al kol zeh b'bria yesh chalokim. The Bria itself, there's a lot of parts. There's the Shemesh, the Yereach, the Shemayim, the Oretz. There's a lot of parts, a lot of powers, a lot of energies in the Bria. And since the shirish from the whole Bria is the kavod, so the Rebbe says, "B'chol chelik v'chelik ma'Bria," in every part of the Bria, yesh b'y b'chinas kavod miyuchad shu shorshoy kanal. Since the whole Bria b'chlolius, the reason for it is the Kvod Hashem Yisborach. So, and even though that thing it's echod, it's one, the whole Bria is one, in the Klolius it's one, but since the Eibishter divided the Bria into a lot of chalokim, so Kim Techois, that every chelik in the Bria, it has a shirish of kavod, a different shirish. I mean, every chelik has a different chelik, a different shirish, but all the shirashim together are shaykh to one shirish, which that's Kvod Hashem Yisborach. I think it's good that we should learn like another shtickle to get get another touch into the Torah, and don't go back, and we'll try to go through the things again. And that's, the Rebbe says, this whole idea that the Eibishter B'Shaf made the world with a kavanah that his kavod should come out of the Bria. And this part that the Rebbe explained, that the Bria has chalokim in it, and every chelik has a shirish for itself. This is the b'china what it says in Ovois Perakei, Basorum Amoris Nivro Oilim. In the whole Parshas Bereshis, it says Vayoyim Hashem, Vayoyim Hashem, Vayoyim Hashem Ye'or. All the Vayoyim Hashem is, that's a maim. So that's called Basorum Amoris. There's 9 Mamoris. But Chazal say that even Bereshis, even though it doesn't say a Vayoyim in the beginning, even Bereshis is also a Maimah. Bereshis Bar L'Kimas Hashemayim V'Sa'aretz, that first part is also a Maimah. So Chazal say Basor Mamoris Nivroil. And if you look at the Bereshis, you could after Bereshis Bar L'Kim, you could count another 9 times that it says Vayoyim L'Kim, Like whatever it goes on further and further, it comes out to 10 parts. So the Rebbe says, no, it's a Chazal. The Chazal say, in the same place in Ovis, Yochoy Liboris. The Eibishter could have created the whole world with one mimer. It could have said, Vayoyim Elikim Yeh Oilam, Yeh Oretz, and the whole Bria would be created from one mimer. So why did the Eibishter divide the Bria from the world with 10 mamoris? Elo b'shvil, that's what Chazal say, schar v'oynesh nivra basor mamoris. In the Chazal it says a little different. It says b'shvilitein oynesh l'rishoyim and schar l'tzadikim. The Rebbe says more in the kitzah here, elo b'shvil schar v'oynesh nivra basor mamoris. That means the Eibishter wanted that if a Chaz v'sholom, a Rasha does a bad thing, so he's doing a bad thing against a creation that the Eibishter created not with one maimar, that the Eibishter created with 10 mamorim. So that means he's actually doing a big avera, because he's actually destroying, like the Rebbe says a word before, yeshakilkilu. He's destroying a creation that was created with 10 mamoris. And faket, if he's a tzaddik, so right now he's going to get schar for doing something good in a creation that the Eibishter created with 10 mamoris and not in one maimar. That's what Chazal say. And of course, if you look at the Chazal b'Pashtus, it could look like something that could be understood, but it's even in the Pashtus, it's very hard to understand. V'chi, that's what's kivei ataka. That's why the Eibishter created the world with 10 mamoros, because of this idea that he wants to give, even let's say on the good part, that he wants to give schar for someone that's a tzaddik. He wants to give schar, so now he's going to give him more schar because he said it in he like the Eibishter made a bigger effort to create the world. So now that you're part of the tikkun oilam, so I'm going to give you more schar because I was more mishtadel. I was more mesametz to create this world. So and you're doing a good thing in the world, so I'll give you more schar. And if you're chaz v'sholom Rasha, so now it's like I really worked hard to create this world with not just with one maimer, just with 10 mamoris. So if you're mekalkel the world, you get a big oynish. So even b'pashtus, the thing is, it needs a hezbollah to understand what's behind it. But of course, if you learn Torah Yud Beis, it becomes a lot. It's beautiful to understand taka the whole idea. So we'll go back. So the Rebbe brings the maimah here. V'zeh b'chinas basor mamoris nivro oilo. V'aloi b'maimer echad with one maimer yochel boris el b'shvil schar v'oynish nivro basor mamoris. U'b'chol maimer u'maimer yesh boi b'chinas kovid miyuchad, and in every maimah there's a b'china and a special kovid shehu shorshoy, that this kovid, this special kovid, is the shoyrish from this maimah. Why? Ka kovid u shoyrish hakoil kanal, because the kovid is shoyrish from everything kanal, like the Rebbe said before. The Rebbe said before that even though the Eibishter could have created the world, everything is echad, but even though the bria has chalokim, and every chelik has kovid, so now the Rebbe is actually explaining that the chalokim mean dasor mamoris. That's the shirish from the chalokim, even though it's sure that on every chelik of the bria, the first time the Rebbe said chalokim, he didn't say maimar, he didn't say maimar, because every chelik, every cup in the bria, every glass, every spoon, every table is a chelik in the bria, and everything has a special kovid, that this kovid is shaykh to the shirish kovid from the whole bria. The Rebbe goes further and says, it says in Tehillim, "Ubecholoi kuloi mekovid." Ubecholoi in heichel kuli, the whole heichel is one big expression of kovid. Shebechol maimer melubish by kvoidi is borch shaydeizen nivro oilam. Because in every every chelik in the bria, there's a kovid that through this kovid the Eibishter created the world. And the Rebbe's Mamshin, he says, "Kimiloi cholarts kvoidi." The Rebbe brings like another pasuk to show this idea that in the whole bria, not just the pasuk that the Rebbe brought in the beginning, that it says the Chazal that says Kol ma shebara Kadosh Baruch Hu bora lechavoidoi. That shows that the whole creation was created. The reason was covered, but now the Rebbe brings a raya to show that in every part of the bria, the whole bria, like the Rebbe brings before, becholei kulei mekovid. So you see, kimeloi chol oretz kovid. It means the whole oretz, All the chalokim in the Bria, every chalik has in itself a part, a shirish of kavod. And the Rebbe says, "Vafilu ba'veiros v'dvorim roim chaz v'sholom." Even in averis and in bad things, dvorim roim chaz v'sholom. Sheshom ein kvoid yizborach. That there in these places of averis there is no kavod to the Eibush. That means you can't see. And l'choyer, not just you can't see, it's soisa the kavod, the honor, the presence of the Eibush. Even in those places which are the b'chinas uchvoidi la'achal lo etin. The Rebbe brings another pasuk in Yeshai where it says uchvoidi la'achal lo etin. It means that in my kavod, la'achal means avodah zarah. I'm not going to let my kavod be expressed or be shown through acha, something that's avodah zarah, that's soisa my presence. So l'choyer, in a place of avera, it's a place where there is no kavod. It's shaykh to the idea from uchvoidi la'achal lo etin. Sheyesh gvul la'kavod shlo yispashit. The Rebbe's masbet, there's a gvul. Everything, even though it has a shirish of kavod, but there's a gvul, there's a boundary that the Eibishter's kavod shouldn't go out to places where the Eibishter doesn't want it to come. Places that are chaz v'sholom, like averis or bad things, that are soisa the etzem kavod from the Eibishter, so the Eibishter doesn't want his kavod should come out of these places. So the Rebbe says, even though I just brought the pasuk that says that the whole earth is malach kvoidoi. Even though there are boundaries and places that the Eibush doesn't want the kavod to come there. V'yesh gvul lekol kavod v'kavod shemelubish b'chol maimer u'maimer basor mamoris kanal. Shlo yispashet lemekoymes achitzonim kanal. That means, even though I said before that in all the chalokim of the Bria, and befrat beklolius, and all the asor mamoris that the world was created with, there's a shirish of kavod, but all the chalokim from the Bria, every chalik from the Bria could go in a way that this way should chad v'sholom be a steer to the Eibishter. And right over there, when it starts going out of that place, there's a gvul, and over there, l'choyer, there's no kavod. Aval da, the Rebbe says, ki afa pi came bevade gam hei mekablim chiyus mimenu yizborach. Those places that are, even the averis and the bad things, the chiyus, that these things, these ideas could exist, ideas or maisim or mekoymes could even exist, is because they get the chiyus from the Eibishter. Vafilu mekoymes hamutunofim. How would I say mekoymes hamutunofim?
Dirty places.
Yeah, places that are hefech from Kedusha, dirty places. These places would also get the chiyus from the Eibishter, oibote avodah zarah, which that's different than not holy places. That's places of bote avodah zarah, means places of kfira, places that are mamish in ideas, in chochmah and seichel, the soisa the Eibishter. There also they get the chiyus from the Eibishter. Tzrichen gam ken lekabel chiyus mimenu yizborach. Okay, so we'll stop over here and we'll go back to the turn in the beginning. So Lemaisa, this whole explanation when the Rebbe started, Kidak Yishelish Kolabriya, is from kavod, and the whole explanation that the Rebbe said that even though the Klolius Abriya has one sherish kavod, but the Briya is mechuluk to parts, all kinds of chalokim, and the Briya was created through Asorim Amoris, and since that every part of the Briya has kavod, this whole explanation, and all these parts of the Briya that have kavod, there's a gvul where the kavod doesn't come out, doesn't go over. So l'choira, there is no kavod from the Eibishter there. So the Rebbe says, but even though there's bevade chiyus from the Eibishter, that's mechaya this whole place. This whole explanation is actually supposed to be an explanation why the Rebbe said before, why when a person falls into sveikus or to all kinds of places, Rachmana litzlan, from sveikus v'rurim u'ma'arach Hashem yizboch, afal pikein anafila v'yiridi tachlis aliyah. this whole explanation about the covet, the Rebbe brings in, because if you keep on learning even further, you can understand why it could be in a matzah that if a person goes down so low into such kind of places, we should have not have gone in these places, even though there's a way to be mesaken that this nefila could become chazor to be the biggest aliyah. Why? Because there is a chiyas from the Eibishter in those places, which from that chiyas you could be mesaken everything and turn everything back. But now I want to go through the Torah again, from the beginning again, and see what we saw before. We learned like the Pashtus, we went through the Torah, and let's look at the words again, because that's the way to learn LIKUTEY MOHARAN, is to go through. The real way would be to learn the whole Torah at least once, and twice, and 3 times. You go over the Pashtus of the Torah to understand the Pashtus, but then it's always important to always go back and to see if you really understood what the Rebbe said, or you just read the words, and a lot of times the Torah Yud Beis and also in Reish Pei Beis, there's a tchuna to the Torah that looks like more like a sicha. Looks like a sicha. It's retzach hazeh. It doesn't look like every word, like the Rebbe said about his Torah, that every word is meduyik, bediu, godel, and you have to be medagdik. The Rebbe says he wants everyone to be medagdik in his Torah, every word. So you always have to go back and to look and if you understand what you really understand what the Rebbe is saying. So let's start the Torah again. If a person goes after seichel and his chokhmah, yochel lipol betuusim umchshoylo israbim, v'lo v'yidei rois gdoylo ischaz v'sholem. So here the Lashon looks a little like the Rebbe is not really explaining what he's talking about. And if he's not really explaining what he's talking about, it looks like the Lashon is not lav dafka. Like this kind of Lashon. What does that mean? That needs also an explanation. How does it work? Why shouldn't the Rebbe be mefaret more? What does it mean going after your seichel and your chokhmah? But the Rebbe is not more mefaret what it means to go after a person goes after his seichel and after his chokhmah, and that's because the way to understand what does it mean is going to be explained through the Torah itself in the hemshech of the Torah. And not because the Rebbe stellt sich weg is masber what he meant, but if you learn the Torah, it has to be that through the hemshech of the Torah you would understand what it means, what's wrong about this idea, and what does it mean a person goes after his seichel and his chokhmah. So that's one thing that a person has to be himself misbeinen. What does it mean? And then the Rebbe says, what does it mean? Again, if it's like someone's talking, like a Rav is talking to somebody, or a Mechanech, or a Rebbe, so you talk that it's not kedai to, don't go after your chokhmah, because you could fall into big mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The Rebbe doesn't say. Mechshoilis Rabbim, a lot of mechshoilis. What does it mean? How do you fall into tu'usim? And what's the difference between tu'usim and mechshol? There's a difference between a tois and a mechshol, because a tois is a tois, but a mechshol is a little worse than a tois. And then the Rebbe goes on, he says, that's worse than everything, because if a person goes after his chokhmah and he falls into a mistake is a mistake. A shoyge could be a mistake. A michshol is not an avera yet. A michshol is a michshol. Yeah, a person has to be nizer from michshol. It's not to come to averis. But lover de rois dolis chadashon. That's like already mamish coming to like the Rebbe says after about averis. The Rebbe says that he mamish going to averis.
Next page.
Will the Rebbe say averis?
Next page.
Oh. The Rebbe says, again, the Lashon dvorim roim. So, when the Rebbe says rois does, the Rebbe speaking mamish about averis. So this whole idea, it could sound like derech agav, like the Rebbe is trying to tell you, like if everything's not meduyik here, and so you could say it in a lot of ways. You could say it's time. You should know a person that goes after seichel, so it's not. It's a person that doesn't have enough emunah, and he doesn't go with betmimis or pshitis. In Yiddish can man sagen, can't see him to sein, ich kann get the plätze. Ja, sein, ich kann get the plätze. Yeah, okay. So it doesn't, like the Rebbe could say, Yochel lipol lemichshoylois, v'lo v'lirois gdoilis. The Rebbe didn't have to say tu'usim dafka. And if the Rebbe said tu'usim, he didn't have to say mechsholos. But we know that everything is meduyik, so it has to come out of the Torah, by the hemshech of the Torah. And maybe I have what to explain right now, but I think it's more important to the Olam should understand that that's part of the yigiyah that you have to do in LIKUTEY to understand and to try to find, if everything's meduyik, what's the idea of a tois and what's the hevel between a tois to a michshol, and why is all of this important to bring up, and then also to come out and say that it can even come to rois gdoilis. And the Rebbe's mamshel, v'yeshe kilkelu harbe. And what are they mekalkel? Kilkelu harbe. Why doesn't the Rebbe explain what were they mekalkel? Ki goyner rishoyim agdoilim moida mefursamim shehitu esoilim. Like the big rishoyim gdoilim, the mefursim, that they were known. Shehitu esoilim. Who are these rishoyim? Who is the Rebbe talking about?
Is that the kilkul? Being matas oilam, that is the kilkul? Or is that just describing them?
It's a good question. What do you say? Okay, so it's open to try to understand what was the mistake. If the mistake was, if the kilkul was because they went after the chochma and the seichel, so they brought into the world to usim rabim in such a way. If you explain that way, maybe it's easier to understand who the Rebbe is talking about, because all the big apikorasim that they brought the world today, in fact, you see today, they brought the world to such rois gdoilos. It's everything starting from the das, from the toys, the tuusim that they brought into the world. So these Rishonim, everything started. The Rebbe wants to show it could be in a way that what happens if you go after the chochma and the seichel and you teach the world that everything is something that you have to understand and you could understand, and the world goes with that kind of way of thinking, so that's where the world could come to, like it's came till today. We are in a matzav. In the Rebbe's times already, it started the kfir and the askola and today it's avad and avada, that everything is starting from ideas that are mistakes. I had a feeling, and again I learned the Torah 2 times. I had a feeling that maybe there's a certain seder here in the Torah, even in the beginning of the Torah. The first thing is taka yochel lipol betusim. A person through the seich. That's the problem with chochma and seichel. The problem is that you could come to tuusim, and if you come to tuusim, you come to a michshol. A michshol means, how did you say before?
Pitfall.
A pitfall. The pitfall, that's the sakana, which from this sakana you could come to rois gdoilos chaz v'sholem, from this pitfall. So again, it starts with a tois. If you go after your seichel and your chochma, what's going to happen is you could fall into a tois. This tois itself becomes a michshol. If you would have not fell into the tois, you would have not be challenged with a michshol. But this tois could make a michshol, and this michshol could be a michshol. Through the michshol, you should be able. You should fall into to rois gdolos moed. If we learn it that way, so it could make sense. It could be very nice when the Rebbe is mamshich and he says, "V'ika yadus rak leilach betmimis upshitas blim shum chochmes." Why? Because the Rebbe is actually saying like this. If you go with tmimis pshitis, so you don't fall into, even though you have a suffix, and there are sveikas, and we could explain it a little further. How could it be that even if you go with tmimis, you could have sveikas? But if you go with tmimis, so your sveikas would never become from your suffix. It wouldn't become a michshel, that the michshel could become an avera. But if you go with your seichel and your chochma, so then these sveikas could become a michshel, and from the michshel could be a machshel, and it could be nichshel in avera.
How do you define tmimus?
Beautiful question. No, you know why it's beautiful? Because it's simple, and it's so nitzrach to ask the question. Why is it Nichsefo to ask the question? Because if we would be learning a Sikh and Sikh Saran here, right? Learn a Sikh. Like a Breslov learns a Sikh and Sikh Saran. There's a lot of Sikhs that the Rebbe speaks about Tmimis, Pshitis. You don't always feel that it's right to ask us a question, what does it mean Tmimis, Pshitis? And what's so nice about Tmimis, Pshitis? Because you say to yourself, it's Tmimis, Pshitis, like I grew up. And the truth is, whatever we understand about Tmimis, in a way of Tmimis, is also Tmimis Pshitis. Even if you think into something, you want to go into something deep in LIKUTEY, you should never give up the pashtus of the thing. Never lose the pashtus of the thing. Whatever it says here, Tmimis Pshitis, it means like we know Tmimis Pshitis. That means like a lot of times you could recognize this. There are people that their approach to Yiddishkeit and everything that they learn is moli Tmimis Pshitis. And everyone recognizes this Yid has a lot of Tmimis Pshitis in himself. And there are people that you recognize that every word about Torah is moli Chochmas. So it's true that Tmimis Pshitis is Tmimis Pshitis in the way its tak is Tmimis Pshitis. But if it's a part of a Torah in LIKUTEY, where the Rebbe is speaking about, the Rebbe says such a statement, Ika Yadis Tmimis Pshitis, so it's very important, taka. Everyone should try to understand what's so special about Tmimis Pshitis and what does it mean, taka, Tmimis Pshitis. But the Rebbe says over here, if we look at this shtickle again, V'ika yadus o aklerer b'Tmimis Pshitis b'li shum chochmas. V'listaker, then the Rebbe says something else that sounds a little different. V'listaker b'chol dover sho'ise sheyeh shom Hashem Yisborach. He should look at everything that he's doing, that the Eibishter is there in this thing. ולבלי להשגיח כלל על כבוד עצמוי, רק אם יש בזה כבוד השם יסבורך, יעשה, ואם לאו. So, this could look like two things. Someone could say one second. Ika yadis leir between Pshitis b'li shum chochmes. That's an avodah. The second thing of saying that whatever I do, I should always look that my personal covet shouldn't be involved. I'm not looking to feel my personal covet. Whatever I'm looking to do is just to see if there's the covet from the Eibishter there. That's something else. It doesn't mean that they have to be combined together, because someone could say that he's doing maybe everything between Pshitis, but in the inyan from covet, he's not such a big, this avoid is a little hard on him. He's able to do things with a lot of tmimis and a lot of pshitas. But the inyan from that, whatever he's doing, not to be mashgiach b'chlal kvod atzmoi, it's a shtickle, a different nuan, a different avoida. Or fakert, there's a person that could say that whatever he's doing, and there's a lot of people that I could think about that they say, and maybe they take a meaning that whatever they're doing is for kvod Hashem Yisborach, but I don't see tmimis by them. They're doing whatever they're doing with a murdik chokhmah, with a big chokhmah. They're doing everything l'man kvod Yisborach. It doesn't have to be tmimis there, but the Rebbe is putting them both together over here. And the Rebbe besides says, "Va'az bevadei lo yekoshe lo olam." If he goes in this way, that whatever he's doing is b'tmimis, without any chokhmas, and whatever he's looking to do is to see that he's doing it for the covet for the Eibishter, and not to mean his own covet, in such a way, bevadei lo yekoshe lo olam. Now, if you recognize, why does the Rebbe say, "Va'az bevadei lo yipol b'tu'usim," like the Rebbe started? Because the Rebbe started the Torah. He said that whoever goes after seichel and his chokhmah, he could fall into tu'usim, and he could fall into mechsholis, and he could fall into rois gdolis. And then when the Rebbe is trying to say how should you do if you don't go after your seichel and your chokhmah, and the Rebbe says the way is because the Yika Yiddishkeit is tmimis upshitis. And the Rebbe is saying that he should look for everything for the cover for the Eibishter. The Rebbe says, "Bevadei lo yekoshe lo olam." That's why it brought me to a place, what I said before, that the Rebbe's talk is saying that if you go with your chokhmah and your seichel, so then you could fall into tu'usim. And tu'usim that come from a place, from seichel and chokhmah, these tu'usim become michsholis. And from a michshol, you could fall into Avera. But if you go faket, you go with tmimis upshitis, even though when you go with tmimis, if you're going with tmimis, so of course you can make tu'usim. But you should know, if a person is saying to himself, maybe the way I'm doing something is not right, so maybe I do have to use my seichel, because I don't want to. I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing in Yiddishkeit is ois gehalten. It's. I thought it over. I thought about it the way the Eibishter probably wants me to think about what I'm doing in Ruchnius. So if a person thinks that way, so that's a reason why L'chori is doing that, because he doesn't want to fall into mistakes. A mistake means even in a way of understanding, of a connection with the Eibishter. It's not just a mistake in halacha. If I did a halacha, if I was mechal Shabbos, such a toys, a mistake in Chaz v'Sholom in Hilchas Deis from the Rambam, the way what I understand about the Eibishter. A mistake is if I don't understand Yiddishkeit, Ikar Yadus, if I don't have the right understanding about Yiddishkeit in a right way, I'm not using my seichel, so I could fall into a mistake. And we see Taka today. There's a lot of people, Talmidei Chachomim, a lot of groups, that it's very important. They say that their way is the true way, and they could prove it to you. That even groups between the Charedim, their way, the way they learn, their Chassidish Sefer, their way of looking at things, of the way they explain Yiddishkeit and Torah and Havana and everything about Yiddishkeit. They use a lot of seichel there, and it's l'choyer they have to use seichel because they don't want to fall into mistakes. But the Rebbe says something very deep. The Rebbe says like this: if you go with Tmimis Pshitis, and the way to go with Tmimis Pshitis means that you look at one thing. If there is covered from the Eibishter in this thing, so even though if what I was doing is a mistake, it wouldn't become a michshel, that from the michshel avera there should come out an avera from it. But if you do it, you go with your seichel and your chokhmah, so then from a mistake it could become a michshel, and from a michshel you could get to an avera. That could be the big difference from the way of going with seichel and chokhmah to the way of going with tmimis pshitis. Now I saw somebody that wrote something also very nice over here, and it has a shaykhus with tmimis pshitis also. The Rebbe says, "B'chol davar shoyise sheyesh shom Hashem yisborach, ulebli lashgiach klal al kvoid atzmoi, rak im yesh b'ze kvoid Hashem yisborach yaseh v'im lav lav." The Rebbe doesn't say that a person should look if something that he's doing, he has a personal covet that's coming out of it. And the Rebbe doesn't say that if a person feels that he has a certain personal agenda or personal covet, so he shouldn't do it. Only if he's mamish clean and ganzen from covet, from his personal covet, that's when he should do something. The Rebbe doesn't say that. The Rebbe says he should look. If there is covet to the Eibishter, he should do it. And if not, not. If not, not. That means it could be that even if a person knows that everything that he's doing, it's hard to find something that a person should do, that it should be in ganz and clean, that only he means the cover from the Eibishter. Because everything what we do, there's always a personal agenda in it, that a person can have a personal cover. But faket, that's what's nice over here. The Rebbe is saying like this: if you go between pshitis without chochmas, so even though maybe you're gonna be doing things, you're going to be doing mistakes, and you're not going to really know when you're doing something, if you're doing it because it's your personal agenda or you mean the Eibishter. But you should know, if there's a covet coming out from the Eibishter, from this thing that you're doing, like let's explain. Someone goes to daven for the Omid. He has a nice voice, he could daven for the Omid. Now this starts in the machshavas, he's a Breslov, he's looking for the emes, all kinds of machshavas start running around his head. He starts saying, well, I'm davening to daven for the Omid. There's a covet for the Eibishter because it's a mitzvah, I'm a shliach tzibur. But mitzat sheni, I mean my own covet. I like to daven for the Omid. So what should he do with this thing? So the Rebbe is saying this: if you go with tmimis pshitis, is the covet coming out from the Eibishter? If this covet for the Eibishter, this is what you have to do. So do it with a tmimis. It doesn't make a difference if you have also an agenda and you're going to be feeling personal covet from this thing. Because if you're doing it because it's a mitzvah, you're going over to the Omid to daven, there won't become a michshel, won't come out of this thing. Chaz v'sholom. But if you're going to start going with your seichel, and you're going to try to adjust everything with your seichel, how to daven for the Omid, and not to have shum covet, Chaz v'sholom, and everything's going to be without a tmimis and without a pshitis, so then you could fall into such a place where by the end of the day, the whole davening of yours is going to be a davening kuli for your own covet. Now, okay, so I'll just try to close something like this. The Rebbe, the Hempstead of the Torah, speaks about drochim. There's a lot of drochim how to go. The chayr from the kesher from the Torah, what the Rebbe is saying here is like this. Since in everything there's a covet from the Eibishter, so even though if you make a mistake, and even though you went after your chochmas and everything, and you came to these mistakes, from these mistakes you came to the michsholis, and from the michshol, you chaz v'sholem went into mekoymes roim. But the Rebbe says a eitzah after and the Torah that there's a eitzah of Ayei. And a person always has to look for the Eibishter, even the mekoymes rachoikim Ayei mekoym kvoide. And we have to say that the eitzah from Ayei, which the Rebbe says later, is one thing with the tmimis pshitas. What the Rebbe is speaking in the beginning of the Torah. The oil that's going to be learning the Torah shouldn't forget this thing. It can't be in one Torah in LIKUTEY MOHARAN, two eitzahs. It can't be in the beginning of the Torah, the Rebbe says that the Ika Yadis is Tmimis Pshitas. And after that, the Rebbe goes into the whole idea that the way to search the Eibishter all over is through the eitzah of Ayei. In the LIKUTEY MOHARAN, always everything is combined. Since everything is combined, it comes out that the etzem eitzah from searching the Eibishter all over is an eitzah that has to do with tmimis pshitas. That means wherever I am to look for the tmimis and pshitas, and the Rebbe says so. Since you're going to be looking with tmimis and pshitas, and since everything in the world, all the halakim in the world, even though the places where they're very far, which it looks like there isn't the covet from the Eibishter there, but the emes is there is covet from the Eibishter. If you go between the pshitas and you go with the eitzah of Ayei, you'll be able to find the covet from the Eibishter, and from that nefil to go back to tachlis aliyah. And dosh be messiah like this. What does it mean to look for the covet to the Eibishter? L'chayr, it means to say that a person, even though he finds himself in certain places that are very low, you could always find covet to the Eibishter. That means if you're able to find in your position anything that you could do that could bring covet to the Eibishter, that's the ticket to the whole matzav where you are. And there is not a matzav in the world or a place where a person could find himself where he can't bring cover to the Eibishter, even his matzav. Fakert, a lot of times a person that goes very far away from Yiddishkeit, he himself, since he is who he is, could bring a very big cover to the Eibishter, daike through his matzav. And if he brings this cover to the Eibishter, he brings up everything back to the shoirish from the whole bria, which is Kvod Hashem Yisbarach. And again, everything is totally, this whole avodah from Ayei is going to be totally a whole time on looking a whole time to do and find the covet, how to bring covet to the Eibishter, only in a way of tmimis, without a way of seichel and chochmah and understanding. Only tmimis pshitis. Through that, you can come to the biggest avodah, what the Rebbe is speaking to you, Beis, from Ayei Mekoym Kvoid.